first time listening to this podcast, you might be wondering, who is this man? Why is his short sleeve, ugly, vertical striped shirt so big? Why is his hair slicked back with so much hair gel? And, well, if you asked any of those questions or any other unanswered questions, I can't really answer them. But what I can answer is that, well, you're going to have a wonderful stay here. And I know that from the bottom of my heart. Okay? But if you're in an area where you can get snacks, popcorn, Rice Krispie treats, Fritos, even chili cheese Fritos. Now, I don't know who likes chili cheese Fritos, but if you do, in fact, like chili cheese Fritos, well, if you have some, go get some. Because this, my friends, is going to be a wild, up and down ride filled with many turns and unexpected surprises. Oh, now that we're in the show, welcome everybody. All the people who were like, who the freak is this guy? They're gone now because their attention span is like 3 seconds long. I once heard a study or read an article somewhere, and it was like, the attention span of a goldfish or something. And, these numbers aren't, these are off the top of my head, but it was like 10 seconds or 5 seconds or 2 seconds, some number that was short. And then it was like the attention span of a teenager is approximately, like 10 seconds more than the average attention span of a goldfish. There's a possibility I'm making this statistic, like completely up. Just like my brain is just filling in the gaps, but no, that I do feel like that I remembered reading an article, because I have the memory of being like, oh, well, frick, rep me, I guess I better work on my attention span. But if you're someone who has been, a member of the Henry Pollei Does Music Things Unofficial Title podcast, then you are like, whoa, you're on the couch. If you watched last podcast, well, then you knew I was on the couch. But, you're on the couch, and you're looking over here, not right here, and there's this light, and there's this mannequin head. What is he doing? Why is he wearing your hat? I know. Don't get nervous. I know a lot has changed, but the thing about the Henry Pollei Does Music Things Unofficial podcast title is that this is a growing podcast. Neil Armstrong... that's the guy that, walked on the moon. He didn't just get to the moon in one step. Many people had to work together. Many hard, strenuous hours were spent trying to get this hunk of metal, otherwise called a spaceship, to the moon safely and back to the planet we call Earth. See, that is what the Henry Pollei Does Music Things Unofficial podcast title is about. We're about getting the thing done, but in baby steps, because it's unrealistic getting to the moon in one step. Is it realistic getting to the moon in like 3 gajillion steps? Yes. Now, if we're comparing that to the Henry Pollei Does Music Thing podcast, is it reasonable to get 1 million active listeners in one day? No. 1 million active listeners in maybe, 53 years? Yes, I think that is a very slim possibility, but with enough marketing and enough money, you can do anything, right? My dad once told me that. But last time on the podcast, let's get this going. Last time on the podcast, it was not a music-related podcast because at the time, when it was still 2020, it was nearing the end of the term, And if you watch the podcast or listen to the podcast, hey, shout out to all the Spotify listeners out there. If you're listening to this on Spotify or any other podcast listening platform, I freaking love you. Oh, freaking love you. Keep listening, please. Anyways, not to beat around the bush. Sorry, what was I? Oh, the end of the term. Yeah, I was very overwhelmed, and 2020 was very overwhelming, and I basically, it was me just like ranting about how stressed I was about, everything. And I know that doesn't sound super, interesting, to listen to. Um, I don't know most people who would want to listen to me talk about how much I hate 2020 for an hour, but hey, there's a niche for everything. So someone out there must want to listen to it. It's all about finding them. But I will give an update on the whole just life situation because, we kind of ended it on a cliffhanger. It was the end of the term. It was before Christmas break, before the new year. It's 2020, so everything's just bad. Basically, the final grades were not very good, but I don't really care at this point because as if you listen to the last podcast, you know I got mono and I got COVID, and the past 2 terms have just been horrendous. Horrendous. But blah, 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 whatever. The grades I got for the situation that I was in, I was like, okay, that's fine. Like, they weren't all A's. So there were some C's, but it is what it is. There's more to life than grades. But Christmas break, that was good. And, that was very good. I will say that. And now it's the new year. With the new year, it being January 2021, what are the plans? Like, what are the plans for this podcast? What are the plans for life? What are your plans? You can't actually tell me your plans because you're through a screen. Haha, loser. My marketing manager, his name's Roberto. He kind of always advises me to not go on big tangents because, as I was talking about earlier with the whole goldfish attention span thing, people just generally, they always have something to do. They always want to be productive, and they typically don't have time to just listen to a 16-year-old boy go on really long side tangents. But Roberto, he always tells me that. But another thing Roberto told me, he's my marketing manager. I think I said that. Roberto said not to say things that, don't like hate on your audience. They're the people that, are supporting the cause of the Henry Pollei Does Unofficial Things podcast title. And, well, to that I say, well, some people need to get made fun of. If there's someone in the audience that I am inadvertently making fun of and they take offense, well, sure, I apologize, but I don't think it's the end of the world. And I mentioned this up because I, maybe like 2 minutes ago was just like, I hate my audience or whatever. But sorry, Roberto, I know you're probably editing this and you're like, what are you even talking about? The beginning of the podcast is the most important part because that is when everyone watches. Roberto, it didn't take a freaking marketing manager to figure that out. I don't even know why I have you. Like, why do I pay you? I pay you because you can use Premiere Pro better than me. Okay. Jeez. Anyways. Music. What is going on in the musical life of freaking music? I don't know, man. I don't know any albums that have come out. Who wants to release stuff in January, right? But me and my music shiz, I got this really cool whiteboard. Not really cool whiteboard. It's a normal, boring board of whiteness. But it's right there. It's out of the frame, just on my wall. And every day, I write down what I'm going to practice and how long I'm going to practice for. So, for saxophone, I make 2 groups, label them hour 1, hour 2, and I can practice, more than that. But if I'm practicing more than 2 hours, then I'll just go back and add more things. But so, start out, I write 10-minute long tones, 10 minutes of long tones, and then like 30 minutes, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9 for the mixolydian scales. What do I have up here? Donnelly, 20 minutes, Ben Solomon, that's this etude book I have, it's really sick. Check out Take the A Train. That's an all-state audition that is due January 22nd, and it's January 9th. So, yeah, I really gotta get on that. But it's a tune I already know. If you know Take the A Train, well, then you're freaking cultured, and I love you, audience member. Roberto also said, overall, he was like, don't hate your audience. But also, it's a little weird when you say you love them. But, like, Roberto, what does that even... Like, I love you guys. I don't know. Roberto is so against my audience. It's like he doesn't want me to succeed. I don't get it. I'm going to say what I want about my freaking audience. Like, I love you. In a normal, loving way, okay? Okay, Roberto editing. I don't love you. You work for me, and I pay you, and you edit the videos, and you sync the audio, and that's all I need you for. Frick you, Roberto. But, yeah, I got the audition. I've been listening to, these Philip Glass, these classical etudes, or like sonatas, but if you know Philip Glass, obviously it's repetitive, minimalistic, that's what he's known for. But I've been listening to these like violin sonatas, but instead of violin, it's actually soprano sax. It's pretty cool. Pretty hip. Let me pull it up. It's called Glass. It's by Amy Dixon. I've never listened to any of her stuff, but the album cover is like this chick. It's a little meta. She's breaking through like glass, and her legs are like being blown away like glass. Like her legs are turning into these glass shards and just flying off into the distant sunset. Yeah, it's a good album. I've been listening to a lot of that. What else have I been listening to? Oh, Charlie Parker. I got into a big Charlie Parker phase, or I guess am still in the big Charlie Parker phase. I don't know. I've been thinking of transcribing a Charlie Parker tune. Alto sax. I'm already, as I said previously, doing Donnelly, but I'm not transcribing that by ear. I just have the Charlie Parker Omnibook paper for it. I'm thinking of transcribing SISI. I don't know how that's pronounced. CC, Sisse, CC. Yes. But yeah, I've been thinking of doing that. The other day I transcribed the A section of Take 5, but not the B section. I should do that today. Well, yeah, if anyone got through that whole thing, that's incredible because, wow, you just listen to me like plan out when I'm going to practice. I know that sounds kind of incredibly boring, but anyways, I hope you saw the new intro. Well, if you saw this, then and you're not listening on Spotify, you're watching this on YouTube, then you did see the new intro. Not necessarily the new intro, but me pressing the button on the keyboard and then the music plays. I was like, yeah, we gotta spice up the intro, and I thought that would be a fun little thing. I'm thinking for maybe other seasons of the Henry Pollei Does Music Things Unofficial podcast style, there will be, different intros for different seasons. There's big plans, big plans ahead. So music things that I've done, besides, practicing sax, synth stuff, which is kind of the main thing of the idea of Teddy P. I went the other day, not the other day, maybe a couple of weeks ago. Me, my dad, and my brother, we went to the Salt Flats. Which, if you don't know what the Salt Flats are, well, it's a flat wasteland of salt where they race cars to see how fast they can go. Some say if you look close enough, you can see the curve of the earth when you're out standing on Salt Flats. I've been there multiple times and have yet to see the curve of the earth. So I think that means the earth is flat. But anyways, Roberto, my marketing manager, he'll get mad at me if I go on a side tangent about flat earth, so let's stick to the Salt Flats. We went to the Salt Flats and I brought the Korg mini log and a stand and the power cords, and we figured out a way to get, I don't know what's called in a car, the smoking, you know what it is when I say the smoking thing that provides energy and you plug in that USB thing and it gives you like 2 USB ports. We figured out a way to like convert that into wall power so that the Korg mini log and speakers and blah 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 could be plugged into. So like we had power in the middle of nowhere because of the car. So we just let it on while I was jamming out in the Salt Flats on the Korg mini log. It was a really fun experience. It was really cold. It was a learning experience while also being a fun. And you can have fun learning experiences. I feel like a lot of people are like, learning experience, that means it sucked. Well, typically, I do think learning experience is kind of, it's like, okay, who wants a learning experience? So I always associate a learning experience with like, let's just come up with some example. This did not happen to me. I don't even have a dog. But you're walking your dog, and then because you're a cheap piece of trash, this is the context, because you're a piece of piece of trash, I think I just had a stroke. You bought this just really, really crap, mangled, dirty, ugly dog leash for your dog that you love. Like you love your dog, but you bought him or her this crapola freaking dog leash. So you're walking this dog. Let's call him Roberto. Let's call him Roberto. Yeah, frick you, Roberto. This is what's gonna happen to you. You keep freaking telling me what to do. Marketing man. I can market myself. You don't even, Roberto, come on. Oh, sorry, we'll get to him later. Well, let's say you're walking your dog. It's a beautiful, just kind of peaceful, there's mellow, just sort of cheerful, uplifting breeze around you. Perfect summer day. As I said, that breeze, the sun is shining, but it's not too hot. It's just like the perfect temperature. Not lukewarm. That sounds gross. It was just perfect. Walking your dog. Maybe about 7 minutes into your walking, you're by a big, busy street. Your dog, whenever there were fireworks, what are we calling him? Roberto, he freaks out. Whenever the fireworks goes on, he gets really scared. And he also gets scared around cars. He has some audio, he gets scared from loud noises. So, because you're by the busy road, he's kind of freaking out. Just boom, 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 pulling you, wanting to go into, there's a church parking lot on your right. He's wanting to go into that church parking lot on your right. And it's kind of turning into a bad experience. So you decide to turn around and head back. Next thing you know, that crapola leash you got breaks. Dog runs into the street. Cars zooming. And dies. No, he doesn't die. Let's save him. He has a really close call with the car. But he gets across the street, and you safely get us across the street, pick up the dog, and walk him home. But because the leash is broken, you're holding him like a little baby. And because Roberto is frustrated and, frankly kind of in shock, he's just scratching and gnawing, and you get home, you're wearing your favorite shirt, and it's all mingled and torn. I don't really know how we got to telling the story, but the point is, oh yeah, learning experiences. The point is, that was a learning experience, but that was a bad one, right? So, anyways, I don't know why I was talking about learning experience, like what even was a learning experience? Oh, the salt flats, that was a learning experience. Yeah, because it was so cold. It's all, guys, all comes together. It was so freaking cold out there, and we knew it'd be cold, so I was wearing a shirt, and then a hoodie, and then a coat, and then a beanie, and then sometimes fingerless gloves, depending on whether my brother needed them, and then jeans, and then these sweat things that like keep you warm over the jeans, and then just shoes. So like I was kind of stacked out, but it was freezing. There were literally icicles in my hair. Literally just icicles forming at the seams. The hair gel, it would freeze up and it would make this noise. It would freeze up over time, and then it'd all just fall off in icicles. That's how freaking cold it was. But it was really fun. I got some really good photos, and the videos will be uploaded on the channel very soon. Very soon. I'll probably upload them in order. So actually, I have the first video that will be uploaded onto the Teddy P YouTube channel will be the sulfites one. It's fun. Since it was so cold, my hands in the video, they were shaking, and frankly, it's really hard to play anything. So I don't think my playing of the Korg mini log, which I like to think I am pretty good at, in the context of like synthesis, not piano playing, but like I know the instrument. I like to think pretty well. I've had it for maybe like 3 years at this point. I don't know. I've had it a while, but it is my baby. Even if it's normie and everyone has it, it's still my baby. It was still the greatest starter synth, but I'll talk about in like the second episode of this podcast. That was really fun. The next thing I did over Christmas break, it was, we wanted to do another synth jam, like go somewhere and just record me playing the Korg mini lug, and me, my dad, my brother, and my mom, we go maybe like a 30-minute drive out to these train tracks. And okay, before you say you shouldn't stand on the train tracks, my response is, I don't know what my response is. Like, yes, you are correct, but I also knew I wasn't gonna get ran over by a train. Aha, little did I know. We park at this place with the train tracks. As per usual, it's just freezing. Snow is everywhere. And set up. This time I brought the Strymon Big Sky, or Blue Sky. I don't even know what it's called, Big Sky, Blue Sky. The blue box with beautiful reverb and delay and everything. It was glorious. I brought that. And it was funny because we had to get this plastic bag and just set this guitar pedal on the bag because I didn't want the like $400 effect machine to just get scratched up from rocks and shiz on the bare ground. We set that there, and then I set up on the tracks and I start playing. My brother is recording. Maybe about 5 minutes into my playing, it was very, very ambient. I was basing my playing off of this like Tibetan synth chick who's like really old. Maybe she's dead, I don't know. If you're on YouTube, if I remember, there will be a link to her in the description if you want to check her out. But on iTunes, she has these like 50-minute long recordings of just this drone that does change over time. There's more oscillators that get added on over time, very slow moving oscillators, waveforms. But most people use it to fall asleep, really, because it's just for 50 minutes. I was basing it off of that. I was just like, we're going to go into full-on ambient, just like, whoa. Little did I know, though. So, the mini lug is on the train tracks. I'm playing my, like, Tibetan freaking synth thing. And I look up, and the train doodads are like, doo, 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 the lights are on. And I stand there for, like, maybe 4 seconds just looking at this. And I'm like, wait, what the balls? That means a freaking train is coming. So, the Korg mini log is set up on the train tracks. The things are like, doo, doo, doo. And then I just see this train coming. And I have like, $700 of gear just on the train tracks. And I'm like, well, what the balls? Like, the one time I have ever just stood on a train track, a train has to freaking come. And the one time I do stand just on a train track in the middle of nowhere, I just have my synth and all this expensive equipment. So I'm like, holy balls, move all this stuff off very quickly and very aggressively. Move it all off. And it was all good. The train comes, and before it got to us, it was honking. Do trains honk? I don't know if that's the right word. That sounds kind of stupid saying the train. Blew its very loud horn at us. Which makes sense because we were like by the tracks and on the tracks, whatever. And it did that, but it did that for like 30 seconds straight. And I was like, okay, yeah, we get it, but cool, better safe than sorry. So in the middle of nowhere, when it's freezing, and I'm like, what the balls? How did a train come? The train, it's this very slow moving train it's this very slow moving train, and it's just chugging along. And then in the other carts, I see these windows, and there's all these like families in the freaking train. There are these really big windows, and they're all having like hot chocolate. It was near Christmas, so it was probably just some like, ooh, Santa's train thing or whatever. They're all just drinking hot chocolate, all these families with the little kids. They're all just like looking at me. Because I'm just standing like outside. I don't know why this camera turned off, but if there's no like video for half of that, I do apologize. Especially, for the people that watch on my YouTube channel. It's like, oh, it's no fun if you're watching it on YouTube and there's no audio. But if you're on Spotify, as I said previously, I love you, and if the camera doesn't work, then you do not get affected. Anyways, I was talking about there's these YouTube channels with these what's the specific title? Those just compressors. It's big, just hunk of cylindrical metal in it. Hydraulic press, yes, hydraulic press. It's like these channels where all they do is crush stuff with hydraulic presses. And super satisfying. Like, I had a phase probably like 4 years ago where, I was like, oh my gosh, I love these videos, they're so funny. Like, ooh, hydraulic press. especially Play-Doh. Play-Doh was always really sick. But anyways, basically the train was a hydraulic press to the audio cable. I go over there and that audio cable, and it's just like nice, like it's this nice guitar cable. It is completely crushed, just completely like flattened. It's flattened out. It's kind of cool. It's impressive because it's just cable, and then all of a sudden it just goes flat. It's got freaking crushed by a train. So I guess that's my flex. If I'm at a party and in the time of COVID-19, those are kind of non-existent. But either way, in the time of like 2020 and there were parties, do I look like the kind of guy to just go to, like, no. Do I look like the kind of guy to be like, oh, I really like talking to people. I just really want to go to parties and be around a bunch of extroverted people, especially when I'm in high school. It's like, that's not smart. But either way, it's COVID, so there's no parties. But if there were parties, and if I wanted to go to those parties, oh, sorry, there's a car honking. And that would be my, the thing that I would tell people. So, let's do an example, like, a female sits next to me, hypothetically at this party, and she, for whatever reason, starts to strike up conversation. And I'm like, why the balls are you talking to me? I don't actually say that, but that's what I think. And she's doing, how are you, blah, 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 blah. And then somehow into that conversation, I would just wedge in, oh yeah, actually, over Christmas break, I had this like $20 guitar cable, and I was playing my synth on a train track, and the train came, and the guitar cable, it got crushed like a hydraulic press. And it looks really cool, actually. That's what I would say. And then this female, she'd be like, oh, that is very fascinating. Anyways, back to me. Blah, 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 blah. That was really dumb, and Roberto's probably like, why are you getting sidetracked? Roberto, freak you. I don't care. This is not your podcast. I hired you to do one purpose. Well, like 3 purposes. Edit videos, sync audio, market. You literally haven't even like marketed. Like, have you marketed at all? Like, I don't think I've ever once seen this podcast show up on Teddy B's Instagram story. Teddy B has 1,000 freaking followers. That is prime. I don't know what you're doing, Roberto. We're gonna have a talk, okay? I'm gonna contact you after I film this. Yeah, that's my flex. That is my flex, that a guitar cable of mine that I use for synths, by the way. I do not play guitar. It's called the instrument, like it works for synths. Yeah, that's my flex. Yeah, man. What else did I do? I don't know. I dwindled around, played some music, got good at music, got bad at music, who really knows? I think that's a good segue into a very, very special project that I'm working on. This project is for the Time Cube. If you don't know what the Time Cube is, it is a band or a group of musicians who make music. Okay, so a band, yeah, besides the point. The Time Cube, these guys, or so I've heard, I've been hearing rumors that a new album's coming out. And I don't really want to make any bold claims. I got the news from a guy who knew a guy who like knew his sister who like works with one of the people at TimeCube, but through the grapevine, that's what the people are saying. So I don't know if that's true, but I would say there's a pretty good chance of a new album coming out. Now, for reals, yeah, I am obviously part of the TimeCube, and yes, there's a new album. Son of music to compare it to, but no, this album is much better than the first album. And I hold the first album very dearly to my heart. I associate that album with like some very strange times because it got released July 4th. I know, very patriotic, very planned out. Got released July 4th, and that was, it was quarantine. School ended, and it was just like in the middle of all this, like, what am I even supposed to do all day? But yeah, I remember just like practicing and then going on my iPad and just going into GarageBand and working on a song for like an hour and doing that like every day for a bit, which is weird because it's looking like GarageBand. I don't make music on GarageBand anymore. The tune, I worked on 2 tunes. This is a bit behind the scenes of TimeCube, our first album, the TimeCube. Most of my time was spent making one song that was very much for the TimeCube album. Most of my time went into the song, but the song did not get into the album. So you're like, whoa, Henry, what the heck? I don't know, something, it just didn't, I didn't like it in the end. After like putting in a lot of time into this. And wow, I really should give it a listen because it's still somewhere in my GarageBand, my list of folders. But yeah, maybe it will be released someday. Probably not, but maybe on some, if I make like a spam SoundCloud account or something, some shizpo SoundCloud account, then I'll do that. But yeah, so the song, what's it even called? No Beach. That was the song I did. And that one was made in mobile GarageBand on my iPad. That song didn't take a whole lot of time comparatively to the other song. It still took a while, like it was a 4-minute freaking song. But it was just, sometimes the best things. Just it's not about how much time you put into it, it's just whether it's good or not. I totally just scraped like a scab or a bunch of dead skin off my forehead, which we'll get to why I have that very soon. But anyways, Through the Nebula, that is what the album is called. And that's all I will say. Besides, there is a secret. Not a secret, there's a new member making music for this album. And it's some good music. And also, we have another member. So in total we have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 5 people. So, it's gonna be great. Anyways, I'll probably wrap the podcast up soon. If you're wondering about some crazy stuff, the other day, I'm playing my saxophone. I am approximately 7 minutes into playing the saxophone, practicing, and I'm doing long tones. I always do 10 to 15 minutes of long tones every single day. 7 minutes into doing it, I totally straight up, I just pass out, fall to the ground. I hit my head on this like rock thing by my fireplace. I'm sure like 5 seconds pass. I wake up and I'm like, what the balls? My saxophone is just on the ground next to me, and I'm just like, what the freak? I totally just passed out. So I'm playing my sax, 7 minutes into long tones, pass out. I guess I just didn't get enough freaking air or something. Next thing you know, I'm on the ground, saxophone next to me, face like smashed up against this thing. My lip was super freaking bruised, and cuts and stuff on the right side of my face. But I totally just passed out from playing the sax. That's never once happened in like the 5 years of playing this instrument. It was wild. Like, dang, yeah. I think it was a combination of lack of sleep, probably lack of nutrients, lack of, I don't know what else to say, lack of water. Water's important, right? H2O. You could figure out how many valence electrons H2O has. Sorry, I hate chemistry. That's just embedded into my brain. But yeah, I passed out playing the sax the other day. It was wild. It was wild. If you're a saxophonist watching this, which, wow, if you're a saxophonist watching this, that's cool. You know. Well, Sam, if you're watching this, you play the sax. Remember to breathe. And if you don't do long tones, me telling this story is not supposed to scare you, but I assure you, if you get enough sleep, enough water, enough nutrients, enough food, you will not pass out. But I'm just saying, remember to breathe, and remove all tension in your body, because that helps just every part of your saxophone playing, or any instrument playing. Tension is the killer of like everything good in music. I swear, dude. You know, whether it's piano, whether it's saxophone, whether it's freaking oboe, English horn. English horn is just like off-brand oboe, right? There's oboe, off-brand English horn. Besides the point, tension is just like, why? Like, stop. I have really bad tension when I play throughout my body. I got this chirp wheel. If you don't know what that is, it doesn't matter. It's like a foam roller to kind of help. And it does. Pops my back like crazy. Gonna end the podcast. I know this was like last episode, just me talking. I'm going to do this every week for the new year. That's why I've decided we're just gonna record one every week, and I don't know when each podcast will get posted, but like I will record a video every single week and get it posted as soon as I can, and that's something downstairs.
Hey, hands up.
Yeah?
Chop chop.
Okay.
Oh, so those weights are a counterweight. That's cool.
Looks like I have to go eat, so that was kind of good timing. I wish you all a wonderful 2021. I genuinely had really high hopes for 2021. And you're planning in the future. This summer is the summer of redemption. Like holy balls. You're going to kill those college auditions. If you don't, I would be pretty moderately disappointed with the saxophone. 3 hours a day, at least in the summer, of alto practice. We're doing averaging 2 hours right now, I think. I haven't even practiced sax at all today because it was really bad 2 cankers right here. It's stupid. That was for Henry Pollei in the future. For anyone that got to the end of this podcast, I actually love you. And I don't really know how you could stand listening to me for however long this podcast is, because it's kind of just me rambling, but it's fun. It's fun. But I hope you truly enjoyed it. And I remember I said, get snacks. I hope you finish your snacks, and I hope your day is better because you listen to this podcast. Be sure to follow every single thing in the description. This description for this podcast is very extensive. If you're on YouTube and if you're on Spotify, well, just keep listening. Love you all, and I will see you next week, or whenever the next Teddy P video is uploaded. Solid Flats video coming soon.